thinking that?
I know. I should have been like,
You curious what this is?
yeah, what is it?
Sun-kissed orange, zero sugar.
Oh, it's like they
Fake
take all the fun out of
orange, fake sugar, fake everything.
it. They take all the fun out of it, man.
Caffeine free, everything the body needs. It has electrolytes.
Brondo. It's got what plants crave.
You know, I still haven't showed that one to the kids. I think they would appreciate the humor. I don't know. Gen Z humor is very difficult sometimes.
Is it? Yeah, I don't.
It's hard to guess. They might consider it just too disrespectful to appreciate.
Too disrespectful. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Man, we got to cure that immediately. Oh man, dude.
So I got a comment from one of our listeners.
Oh, go for it.
Who told me that they didn't like that often my face was obscured behind the microphone, and so now I just want to make sure.
Now you're gonna extra obscure it.
I'm gonna just talk like this the whole time, just to mess with them. I was like, no one actually watches. I mean, you should just put it on and listen. Like, why do you care what we look?
What was that? What was that dude's name? Malakan.
Oh yeah, from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And we will succeed because we.
But you got to keep your.
Yeah. It's just like I don't think he's saying.
Just sentences strung together, no discernible pattern.
Doesn't sound like any politician I've ever heard.
I'm like, why do you think that's weird?
Yeah. It's like times were different in the 60s. Just go with it. It's fine.
You know, it's funny. Are you familiar with Amanda sent me something earlier today. We're just having a quick back and forth. But have you ever heard of the Baker Memo?
The Baker Memo?
Baker Memo, yeah.
Doesn't ring any bells.
It was written back in
James Baker?
That's it. No. It was written back in 71, I want to say. The guy, let me see if I can find, where's my, I just switched over to Brave browser and.
Hey, you should join the dark side with me and Claire.
What are you on?
Vivaldi, baby.
You know, I tried Vivaldi, but it's like they're trying to do too much. It's like, you got your email in here, you got everything in here.
Oh no, but that's the thing. It's like you just turn off the stuff you don't like, and it has the best tab system, has fantastic syncing across devices, and as someone who uses on the regular 4 devices, very nice. It's been extremely reliable
because it does sync. That's what's nice, right?
Oh yeah, and it's got like you can do like tile tabs within one window, so you can like. I mean, it's
if you want to get real crazy.
It's like if you're someone who lives in a browser and it's like, well, why would I? You know, I just wanted to look at what I want to look at. You know, it's great.
Okay, so this is the memo here.
Baker Memo. Okay.
Yeah, and so what it does. Let's come in here. So it's basically Lewis Powell Jr. So you can see 71.
71.
And what he was basically arguing was that so he wrote it with the Chamber of Commerce. And it was basically like, look,
which is not a government entity.
That's right. The corporate structure in America is under attack from liberals, basically, and so communism, fascism, et cetera. And so here's a plan to basically like change that, right?
Okay.
And if it's literally written, you can see like tone of attack. It's all written in like very, kind
of martial terminology.
Sure. And so bottom line is like the whole the contention that she sent me a video, and so I had never heard of it before. I went and like checked it out, but what's going on here? Why can I not get rid of that?
Get rid of what? Get rid of me? How dare you?
Oh, like get rid of this share. What if I share something new?
Sharing is caring. No,
that's bizarre. So stop.
Stop.
Still won't go away though, huh?
Stop sharing. Stop being so communistic.
Well,
We're
bottom
talking
line
about
is,
destroying.
oh,
Oh,
there we
there
go,
you
there we go,
go.
there we go. All right, thanks, man. Thanks.
Oh,
But
now we're back. Ah,
I can't make it fine. See, I'm literally not doing anything. It's
look,
like
Mom, no hands.
my Tesla. It's like your car's driving. Yes, it is. I have no idea where it's going. Bottom line is, like, the contention of this video was, this is how conservatives, like, got business interests back in place, and this is why the government's so corrupt and whatnot. And
Oh,
and
okay.
I was like, I haven't read this. I'm gonna go read through it. But I said, I think the video is kind of missing the point that, like, while yes, I agree that this memo exists, and yes, I agree there was this effort, and yes, I agree they were successful at it. It's ceased becoming like a conservative takeover. I mean, this is both parties are now so completely, like, taken over by these, in many cases, multinational corporate agendas that it's just, that
Well, yeah.
you got a few more cycles before it's, I mean, it's a not saying that Trump's a great president. In my opinion, he's not, but, like, the fact that, like, some wild card can get through and actually take power conceptually is, like, I think we may have seen the last of that, frankly.
Probably for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see that avenue retired through whatever means.
Through whatever means, right? It's like all these scientists that are disappearing. Did you see the one where the girl goes, one of the scientists that disappeared? I can't remember. The girl was, like, literally put a like a I'm alive and well, I have no intention of committing suicide type of a post that surfaced after she committed suicide.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like, oh, I
that's
didn't
not
have your
good.
story straight on that one.
Yeah. We should work on it.
Yeah.
No, one of the theories that I've been enjoying for a bit, and I don't know, this is one of those where I have no idea if this is true or not. So this is, like I said, a theory to enjoy. And this has to do with some districts and some counties having, like, very strange voter tallies. So you know how one of the things that had come up in the 2020 election was that, like, certain areas would suddenly go into negative vote counts, and like, well, what happened to those votes? It's like, oh well, these aren't final numbers yet, and it's like, well, I don't care that they're fine. Like, how do votes simply be added and then disappear, and then, like, there's weird chain of custody issues, and this has been going on for a really long time. Like, one of the places where this happened a lot was Florida. I don't know if you remember. Um, it was after the obviously after 2000. I think it was the 2000 and was it 6 election? I have to go look it up. Where there was so many weird irregularities, especially coming out of Miami-Dade County, and at one point they found a car that was just left at the airport, and when the impound went
Oh,
and
yeah,
got
yeah.
it,
We talked about
Jimmy the trunk open, and there was just ballots just everywhere,
Yeah.
and no one could tell if they were ballots that had been requested or by whom or when they were printed, and, like, all of the paper trail for them just kind of vanished. And so it's like, that's really strange. And then in Virginia, this last not election, but it was one of those referendums on the redistricting. So they're trying to gerrymander Virginia a little bit further, make it, I think it's something like 45% Republican, but they're trying to get it down to like 90% Democrat representation.
Okay.
So that's kind of what they're working on right now. And it got shot down by one of their court systems. So it may not, I don't know if this is eventually going to work, but it wound up winning. This redistrict plan wound up winning. But when you look at the vote totals coming in from different counties, remember how people got really upset about the Joe Biden vertical jumps? So it's like you have normal distribution of,
Yeah.
and then back to normal.
Right around 2 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. So there were 3 of those, all coming from the same county, and all seemed to be timed in such a way to basically erase vote counts from other places. And again, areas where there's no verification, no chain of custody issues. There's a lot of mail-in stuff. We're not really sure how they've been adjudicated. And, like, turns out that this one county has no ballots that are kicked out for being improper. They fixed all of them. And you're like, well, that's interesting. So anyway,
That's
one of the one of the fun thoughts that I've had was that what if our election system is so bad that maybe a quarter to a third of all elections in the past 20 years have been completely fraudulent.
Well, I
A
mean, look at
quarter to a third. That's my fun zone, right? I'm not saying all of them because that's
sure, sure.
crazy talk, but like
It
the
is
fun part.
what it is fascinating that you think back, like it's pretty well documented and accepted now that you know Joe Kennedy stole the election in '60, for
Sure,
JFK.
sure.
That's pretty, and the files that they had released around the assassination, like it's all more stuff about how the mob was definitely pissed at Bobby and all this other stuff, and it may have been certainly were associated with the first and possibly the second brother getting gunned
Mhm.
down, and a lot of like I find it interesting, like stories like that. It's like because people are like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. There's no way that many people could coordinate and da da da. And it's like,
Remember, we're calling them now spoiler alerts.
well, even Shank Uger, who's at Young Turks, I mean, no friend of conservatives or
Right.
anything, right? Was like, he goes, I owe a huge apology to like QAnon and all these other people because like all these conspiracy theories, so many of the, pardon me, not all, but so many of these conspiracy theories have been proven to be true. Like in hindsight, you're like, okay, Pizzagate, like, okay, there wasn't a sex trafficking ring going on out of that pizza shop, but there was a child sex trafficking ring where they were using pizza and pizza for pizza of ass and grape soda for rape. And like, I mean, just literally like using these
Mhm.
coded language that you know, uh, they didn't have the context or they didn't have the specifics right, but they had the context right. Right.
Yeah.
And,
It's like mostly true.
mostly true. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So anytime now you hear a conspiracy theory, he's like, dude, you can't even call them that anymore. They're just theories, like just get off your
Mhm.
high horse and like stop like just dismissing everything.
Right.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
but I always thought too. I'm like, do you ever see that movie JFK, the Oliver Stone movie?
Yeah. Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. Classic.
And the thing about that movie that just kind of like stays with me, not that Stone has it right on his take, but like just the idea that you could have had a lot of different groups that were interested in getting rid of, like in this case, Kennedy, uh, each of them with their own plots and own designs. And then somebody takes action on something. Anybody else who's aligned with that agenda, even up here, is like, perfect. Now we can do that, right? And so
Right.
you don't have to have coordination to have
Right.
a plot or a conspiracy. So
And you have people willing to look the other way or whatever, and it's like you could have extremely minimal coordination, uh, and it would still work. Yeah.
I was watching this fascinating. Who's the guy? There's two. There's two guys that founded one of the conservative groups. Ben Shapiro and somebody. What's his name? Josh something or other. But anyway, these two guys founded whatever that one that Shapiro's is on. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm not immersed in that. But like
Yeah.
that
I don't know.
guy had a
Yeah.
YouTube video that came out a couple days ago. Somehow ended up in my feed, and he was talking about how, hey, this is how people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are manipulating you, right? And he's all this is pro Zionist propaganda basically, but he's
Sure.
like he's like this is how they're setting up, like, of course we know this and blah blah blah, and he's showing all the language patterns, which are absolutely valid. Like the video is good to watch because it's like like, yeah, he's spot on, right? He's spot on. That is how people get manipulated with language, right? But he was just completely ignoring the fact that he was using the exact same language
Oh,
pattern. And I'm
yeah.
like, and I'm also like, dude, like, because he's talking about like, seeding or creating like a narrative effect before you actually say the story. Like, here's another great example of how people blah 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 blah, and then showing the clip, right? But
And
now
now you saw the thing that he said.
you saw the thing that I just described, even though I was describing my own take, but you're like, man, he's right, because it is there along with any number of other interpretations, right?
Right.
And I'm like, but dude, that's what the media does at large. So like to think like that, oh, so therefore their opinions are right or wrong, X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, well, what the alternative is to take what they're feeding me over here. It's just, come on, man. Like, But it was literally, his whole thing was, this is how they're lying to you. Therefore, we know the truth is this other thing that has been on the news. I'm like, you just,
Yeah, it's
certainly
one
you
of those
couldn't
where
have
it's
missed
like,
that, you know?
it's like someone took the wrong lesson from logic, you know? So like in Boolean logic, all statements that aren't true or false, and all statements that aren't false or true, which is cool in Boolean logic. And then in the real world, you can have plenty of things that are mutually false. You know, it's like, hey, this is a lie. And it's like, guess what? That other thing too that looks like the opposite of that, that's also a lie. So, you know,
Right,
sorry. You
right,
know?
right. That's interesting. So the opposite in Boolean, the opposite of every false statement must be a true statement.
Must be true. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it turns out that it works because of how carefully defined what an opposite is. And a Boolean construct for opposite doesn't exist in English. Right. So like if I told you in English, like it's raining outside, and you said, well, what's the opposite of it raining outside? And in English, it'd be like, it's a drought. It hasn't rained in days, you know, kind of
Right,
thing. But
right.
but the Boolean opposite is it is not raining.
Correct. Right. It is
Right.
raining
So it's like,
outside or it is not raining outside. Doesn't mean it's sunny. Doesn't mean it's cloudy. It doesn't mean any of that. It just
yeah.
means there is no rain falling from the sky. Right.
Right. And so
Right.
it's like the opposite is so carefully defined that like, well, yeah, that's going to be one. If it's not false, it's true, you know. Um, but
Oh,
um,
Robbie.
look me down. So that depends. That's debated, but yeah, we don't want to get into, you know, three value
You know who
logic.
invented the concept of zero? I just heard this the other day. It's really interesting.
Is relatively recent.
So India invented the concept of zero. And ironically, like the sign for infinity is zero twisted, you know, and both of
Yeah.
them are completely made up concepts, in other words, right? But we need them mathematically for things to work, which is really fascinating.
Can you imagine how confusing that would have been before the number was invented? Like you went up to someone and you're like, "How many cows do you have?" And you're like, "I don't have any cows." It's like, "No, no, I need to know the exact number." It's like, "I just don't have cows." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
No
It's like,
cows,
"No,
not
there is."
applicable.
Yeah. Like, "No, no, there is an answer to this question. It is a number and you need to tell it to me." And I'm like, I don't know. Are you giving me a cow? Do I have a cow? Is that what this is about?" It's like, "No, no, no, no. You
Give
don't
me a
have it.
cow and then take it back. And it's like, oh, I used to have one, right?
I
Yeah.
use that one. I don't have it anymore." It's like, "Well, how many is that?" Like, I don't know what you
It's
were asking.
it's one minus one, whatever that is.
Whatever. I don't even know. Very funny. Anyway.
I always love, you know, Robbie's coming here. I always love when people say, you know, there's a non-zero chance of whatever, you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, it took me a minute to get like, what are you saying? You're just saying that there's a chance. That's basically. Did you sound fancy now?
Yeah. Well, usually it's like when someone says it's not uncommon. So you're saying it's common. It's like, well, no, I'm not saying it's common. I'm just saying that it's not uncommon.
Right.
It's not particularly rare, right? And so it's like non-zero is it ain't likely, but
Right. But you're saying there's a chance.
there's a chance. Yeah. Hey, you know, my favorite, speaking of conspiracy theories, I just want to bring this up one last
Yeah.
time before we move on to whatever we're going to talk about. I don't know. But one of my favorite conspiracy theories that Alex Jones was peddling back in 2017. And he claimed, and I wish I had the tweet saved, I could probably find it. He claimed that what was it, the Charlottesville rally or whatever
Yeah.
was actually like a setup, and that the quote unquote neo-Nazis that were there were actually plants by Democrat organizations.
Yeah.
And it turns out
That he was right.
that he was right.
What's that other?
That was part of the indictment for the SPLC.
Oh,
is
includes that.
includes that. So the Charlottesville thing.
Tasty little tidbit.
Yeah. So the Charlottesville thing, so this was what I think was really interesting about that, because the Charlottesville was like the cause for why, we got to get Trump out and get Biden in there. I mean, he himself,
Well,
Biden
Biden
said,
said that was his number
yeah,
one reason to run. Yeah.
like this is, we have to stop
This guy
hate
thinks
in the
Nazis are good
country.
people. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And there's
To be
just like,
fair, though, he probably does. So just, yeah.
I don't know. Like, I
Just to be
can't
fair.
judge what's in someone's heart. I mean, Joe Biden might actually hate vanilla ice cream, even though he's
But
too
he's smart
scoopy.
enough. See, he's smart enough not to say so. That's the big difference.
Oh,
And
whatever.
we trust our presidents who can, keep it together, stay on message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won't let me talk to anybody. They won't let me answer your questions. I better go. I don't want
You
to
know
get
who
in
was
trouble.
great at that too is George W. Bush. Like he was phenomenal at just staying on message, right? Like it didn't matter what he was. He'd be like, oh, da da da, and he would always bring it back, and it was the same sequence, low, soft bigotry of low expectation. He was just like rolling out. He was just. It wasn't even
Very good
really
at it.
him. It
Very
was
disciplined.
Karen Hughes, but still smart enough to listen to her.
Hey, I mean, the right advisor. You got to you still got to do what they say.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, sorry.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was like the cost. It poured millions of dollars into not just the SPLC, but the whole kind of anti-hate thing. And there was a lot of push in different areas to try to get it ramped up. I don't know if you remember, there was kind of a short-lived moment where it was like "Stop Asian Hate." That was a thing, and that kind of popped up and then went away really quickly. There was a bunch of other ones, and then also because the SPLC was so pivotal in like making these sort of the hate list. Here are the groups that hate people, and so you should hate them too because they hate others. And then that was used. They were advisors um, for a lot of the social media companies to be able to tell like who do we silence. I don't know if you remember. I mean, sometimes it's hard to recall. Prior to Musk's buyout of X, Twitter back then, there was all sorts of views that you were not allowed to say. People that were not allowed to talk on social media, all sorts of things.
People are
And
still on YouTube very sensitive about it. Like they'll swap out instead of Israel, they'll say something else. Instead of
yeah,
COVID, they'll say something else. In fact, the fact that I just said those two things will probably get this video shut. Not that we have a
right,
huge audience.
shadow banned or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Well, but that's the thing is that a lot of times the opinions, the viewpoint discrimination would be based on like, well, for safety, because these are hate groups. How do we know they're hate groups? Because the SPLC has said they were.
Right.
And it turns out that the SPLC was funding hate groups in order to like set up altercations and things so that then they would be able to like come in and rescue us from the hate groups. So
It's like NGOs that address homelessness, but actually our incentive now is to perpetuate homelessness so we are always in existence. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's so funny too because
it's amazing to me. Like, what a great racket to be involved in. I kind of wish I'd thought of it. Like, it's
well,
it's awesome.
the I'm sure their defense is going to be something like, like, look, we have to embed, certain people in these groups. So of course we have to, it's like the person who buys a share of Microsoft so he can go to a stockholders meeting or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, and we'll see if that works. But I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's like, dude, this is like, they had like a $288 million endowment or something like that they were, deploying, and supposedly three, I don't know, however many millions of dollars was allegedly, money laundered and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also it also enabled, and I think this
again, though, this is supposing that you believe anything that comes out of this DOJ at all. So like,
sure,
yeah,
I mean,
you can indict anything.
Yeah, you've got the grand jury indictment, so I mean, obviously it'll play out in court. We'll hear both sides. It'll, this will play out. So this is all just like reflections on the latest thing, right?
Yeah.
We
have to say allegedly, just so
allegedly, yeah, just wear it.
Allegedly, man, just
sign. The one part that I thought was really interesting about it was during the DOJ during the Biden years would a lot of times take their cues on who to target, or like, why are you going after this group? This seems like you're going after your political enemies. It's like, oh no, we're not. They've been tagged by a safety organization, and then you look at the safety organization. The safety organization is like an arm of, or subsidiary of, or beholden to in some way the SPLC.
Right.
So it's like, hey, we don't, here's our predicate for going after whoever we want to go after. And the stuff turns out, if the stuff that SPLC was doing was manufactured in order to do this, then you have this wonderful little circular thing, this like, show me the man, I'll show you the crime kind of thing. It's like, hey, we need to go after this guy. No problem. And again, it doesn't have to be like the JFK thing. It doesn't have to be like we all sit in a room and we decide you do this, you do that. But it's like, hey, we need these people. Who will rid me of these people? And it turns out here's an organization that is sort of manufacturing, sometimes out of whole cloth, dirt on these people.
What king
And
was
like,
that?
oh, I can't remember. It was in England.
Who
Yeah,
will rid me of this troublesome priest?
yeah. And it's like, oh, someone just goes and stabs him to death, and you're like,
Something like 6 of them, I think.
wasn't me. You
Bum
know,
rushed him at the altar and stabbed him to death.
stabbed him to death.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's a beautiful story, and I'm going to really enjoy watching it play out.
I use that story anytime somebody's like, "Oh man, these are just harmless tweets. This is not inciting anybody to violence." You're like, "Have you not read anything?" people take action on shit people say all the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, especially since Trump himself has been targets of things like that, where
Robbie just put out this.
Oh.
I gotta find this tag, but basically,
Guardian.
We got an apology, or not apology, apologist for the
SPLC.
Yeah. These are the charges explained. We'll find out, man. Got to read and learn.
Okay. Wire fraud, bank fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering.
Allegedly.
Allegedly,
man. Here we go. Let's post it up here. Let's see here. Guardian is a very reliable. They're very reliable, middle of the road publication, right?
No, we finally get. It's at the very end. Just scroll all the way down to what's the indictment about. The rest of it's all just sort of fluff.
Okay. Says the center told donors the money would be used to help dismantle violent extremist groups, but did not disclose that some of the funds would actually be used to pay members of those groups. That's a new way of going after a charity. It's because someone is accused of pilfering donated funds to line their own pockets. But in this case, the government is targeting the method and intent in which the nonprofit used its money. So the government is looking at the informant payments as an intent to further hate, and I doubt they had that intent.
Most likely not. No. An organization that only exists because of hate would have no interest in keeping it going. I think it's one of those things where it's like you look at the government right now, just sort of in general, and you're like, why aren't they solving these problems that 80% of the public want? It's like, well, because then there's no reason to keep electing them, and so
totally, man. I mean, come on.
we got to keep those problems alive so that we keep the money moving, keep the votes going.
It's funny, not that this is anything new either. I mean, I got completely outraged a few years ago, and I guess it was 24, when they finally put together a border package that actually was a good border package, and Democrats, Republicans working together, whatever, some compromises on both sides, and instead Trump's like, makes the calls and is like, you guys cannot pass this. We need that issue, and all, I mean, he didn't frame it that way to them. Obviously, it's like, you don't need to do this. We have the existing laws. These people just don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. It's going to make us look like pussies, whatever the case may be. Right. But like, ultimately it's political in nature. I need that issue. So you can't take that issue away. I was watching, I told you I was working through the West Wing or whatever again. And I'm in season 6 now. Okay. Like I put it on, fall asleep to it, and then I'll season 6, there is a sequence like that where they're trying to there's this, I can't remember, it's something with healthcare, and one of they're Democrats, obviously, so they have a Democrat congressman who's like signs on to co-sponsor this bill with a Republican to address the healthcare, and they're like, dude, this is just going to be this is a giveaway to like corporations, not really let people sue. And it's like, no, we're going to get, they can sue for $1 million. It's like, well, $1 million, for somebody who has, that's not enough. And they finally get it up to like $5 million, which even they agree is like, that's actually pretty, I mean, it is a limit, but that's a pretty nice limit.
Big limit,
yeah. What people don't understand too, like from an insurance perspective, any top level is actuarially much easier to process. It automatically lowers premium. So the minute you have a policy life max or a per case max that the insurance company has to pay out, even if it's atrociously high,
Mhm.
the actuarial value of that policy drops, because there's always that one case in a billion where somebody would have to like shell out X, and you have to factor that in to everybody's premium, right? And so that's
But
where
now
like,
we know what the maximum is.
now we know what the maximum is, and now we can use the tables to actually, uh, 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 put. So not to take insurance companies' side on anything, but it's like, but it's useful to know, like, people that don't know anything about the industry commenting on it usually don't bring a lot to the table in terms of like, actually, like, here are the steps we need to take. It's like, dude, if I'm trying to lower the cost of premium, make it accessible to everybody, get buy-in from all these people, the one people you can take off the table immediately is carriers will totally sign on to anything that has like a, lifetime max on the policy, because, no matter what it is, because it's like immediately, premiums drop. It's good for every single, except for that one person in a billion that's going to hit that tripwire or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's just it's not solid policy always, but it's not that industry lobbyists don't have valuable things to say. So to me, it's like, especially when
Mhm.
you're crafting legislation, right? So for me, it's always been kind of like, how do you balance the need for industry, let's say, to inform, the government, to like educate. For example, like a couple of years ago, there was a couple changes in the Medicare Advantage space that were well intentioned under Biden, the last I think 2022, 2023. Just ridiculous rules, like especially from like somebody who helps people with Medicare. It's not good for the clients, not good for us. Ultimately, not even good for the insurance companies. But it was like this very sensible, uh, you
It
know,
looked good.
yeah, and of course, because HHS is ultimately in control, like literally down to like they can say whatever they want.
Mhm.
And here's how we define this now. And so the way the law is written, it gives them a lot of leeway to do this kind of thing. And it's like, gosh, we're going to need to literally fund lobbyists to go up there and it's oh, this is evil.
Go wine and dine your congressman.
Yeah, but ultimately, like, this is bad for everybody.
Yeah.
This is bad policy. Somebody came up with this, in some, I don't want to call it, say, ivory tower, but somebody doing some exercise and like, this is what we need to do. And it's like, dude, it's the inverse unintended consequences of that actually are going to make it worse for everyone. Like, you're not going to solve that. You're not going to solve that problem, and you're going to make a bunch of other problems you didn't even think of.
See, sometimes though, I think some of these are designed they're designed to attract lobbyists. So, um, one example that is near and dear to my heart, just because I've been watching it and it's hilarious, is what's going on with legalized THC in the United States. So, T- not I don't use. It's not important to me. It's interesting as a legal framework. So it's legal in the U.S. and there was a fight here in
Funny how you
Texas
say I
about.
don't use. Like, do you use caffeine or do you just drink some coffee? Like,
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, my
we're
apologies.
gonna use that language, make you sound like
I
you're on
don't,
crack
I
somewhere.
don't partake of THC in any way. So, like I said, I'm neutral on this one. I just find it
There's another one
interesting.
of those tropes, man. Just wheel them out, man.
Yeah. Ugh. Another philosophy, man. Anyway, but the I some bills put out like 6 months ago. It was like in November, where they attached a rider to it, and the attachment was to ban THC federally, but it was going to go into effect in a year. Okay, so it's like, all right, now this is legal across the entire United States. It's part of the Farm Bill. There's a lot of agriculture that depends on legal hemp. It's imported, it's all involved in interstate commerce. This is a huge thing. And it's like, yeah, we're just going to sort of casually ban it a year from now. And I can almost guarantee you that this will not go into effect because it's like, has the hemp industry given us the appropriate cookies? And they're like, I don't think they have. Like, have they been nice enough to us yet? No, I don't think so. Let's ban their stuff a year from now. And they'll take us on some trips. We'll go do some stuff. We'll get educated
Yeah,
in the realities
and
of the legal hemp
then we'll
market.
repeal that amendment. Yeah,
We'll repeal that amendment before it goes into effect, but we're going to make sure that like it's a thing,
yeah.
and
Just so you know, we can.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
real
you
nice.
got to
That's
make
a real
sure
nice
people.
industry you got there.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like we just, we need some more lobbyist funny money, like my thing over here, my charity hasn't been donated to in a while, and someone should donate to it.
Speaking of which, yeah, speaking of THC, did you see Trump last week gave the okay to research psychedelics,
No, I did hear that
which I'm a huge fan
marijuana
of.
was
I'm a huge fan of.
rescheduled. Is now Schedule 3.
Well, the new executive order that he just signed, it okays research R&D into the use of psychedelics for specifically, among other things, but for PTSD and things like that for not just military, but anyone.
I think that's great.
And
It's been
I do
it
too.
has
It's like,
been one of the highest performing in terms of the clinical trials that have been done, highest performing anti-PTSD medication or treatment of any kind. I believe so.
supposedly, right? And
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I can only speak from personal experience, but like they're it really, I mean, it does contributes a lot to your mental plasticity. It helps you see the world in a different way, and helps you get perspective on things. Anything that separates you from yourself and puts you into perspective is bound to be a positive, positive result whenever you come back, so to speak.
See, the PTSD thing, I think that disease is such a killer. That destroys people's quality of life, and sometimes it leads to people to harm themselves.
And
That
others.
it's one of those where it's like, okay, maybe there are some side effects to this medication we find out later or whatever. It's like, are they going to be more harmful than actually suffering through PTSD? It's like,
Of course not.
probably not. Like, probably not. We'll put the black box warning on it and be like, hey, to save your life, let's give this a try.
But we can't make that legal. It grows out of the ground, so we need to make that illegal. So you have to buy, other stuff from us, we got to perpetuate, this
Yeah.
licensing procedure, all this stuff, to, anyway, I can go down that path.
Mess.
Robbie made a good point. He's like, I don't think it's keep that issue alive type of thing. It's not due to like malfeasance or that it's motivated by like, malice. It's more just, it's
what it is. He says we shouldn't be saying that it's corruption.
right.
I'm going to say it's corruption.
Well,
sorry.
He's. I'm kind of if what you're saying, Ravi, is that people don't have bad motives necessarily when they do these kind of things. I think because even when I was watching The West Wing, right, they did a really good job because the people that are trying to block the legislation are your people, right? Like if you're watching the show and you're a fan, you love these people. They're your people, right? And it's like, but you don't feel like, oh man, that's really despicable, right? Even though it's completely despicable, right? Like, the reason it was like, I didn't notice it the first time I watched it at all. It was kind of like, oh, interesting plot point. But like now that I've seen this done in real life, especially when Trump put the kibosh on the border bill, it was so blatant. It was like, oh my God, like he didn't even bother saying. It was just like, no, we need that issue. It was literally just out there, It's like, geez, like, wow, okay. So when I was watching it this time, it was like, I was like, okay, I see, because they're thinking, hey, the greater good is having our people in charge, because if the other people get in charge, they're terrible, right? And so if we give them this issue, even though we want to solve this issue, but if we let them solve this issue, it's going to weaken our position, and they can get in charge, and that's going to be bad for everyone, right? Like that's the mindset. And it's just such an unfortunate mindset because, somebody was saying, I can't remember who I was listening to the other day. It was Theo Von or one of these guys. They're like, I just think this is maybe not what the founding fathers envisioned, right? And I just started laughing because I'm like, dude, like if you actually go read, I don't know how many of people are watching this have actually read the Constitution in a while, but if you go back and just read the Constitution, like just from scratch, don't read it the way people read the Bible where they're like, oh, see, here's the proof that
here's a verse right here.
But just read it in the sense of like, okay, this could be how you organize a society, right? Just try it on for size. When you read it, you'll see that we don't have that form of government anymore. Like the form of government that they created was the people that owned land, and only those people, right? and with some other exceptions too. but just I'm just dumbing it down, right? The people that own land would vote for somebody from their area to represent them, in Congress. And that was pretty much it. Like, that was it. You voted for that person to go to Congress. And then the Congress, the state delegation. So if you had 40 representatives from Georgia or wherever, those people would appoint the senators. And then there's no direct election of the Senate in the Constitution. People could run for
Well, that was the state legislature, right?
Pardon me, the state legislature. So you also, pardon me, yes, the state legislature.
So the state government, it's up to you. It's your state. Like, we're not going to tell you how to do that.
But so every state, back then they had the 13 colonies or whatever. So every state already had kind of like a governor and a legislature, and they kind of operated as independent nations, for better or worse. Maybe they had some joint trade pacts under the Articles of Confederation. So the Constitution was like, okay, we're going to create this new body called the House of Representatives, and the people will directly vote for those, and your legislature will appoint 2 senators. And so those senators will go. And so you'll have this Senate that's responsive to the state legislature that sent them. That's their constituency, not the people in the state, but the people that those people elected. That's right. The state government that the people elected, the people elect the state government, but then that state government, that's who the senators are accountable to. And then when it came time for run for president, it's not like these presidents went around and campaigned to the people, because that's not who elected them. The Electoral College elects the president. The Electoral College was appointed by the Congress would appoint the state legislature again would appoint the electors. And those electors would then go vote for president. And so over time, it has changed and changed and changed and changed where, and I think, is it Plato that talks about this, that to if you really want to corrupt a government, give the people more, like when you extend more.
That would be Plato.
Yeah, it is Plato, yeah, because when you give, when you give more people the right to vote, people in general are not well educated on the issues. They just know, hey, I'm pissed about this, right? This is bullshit, whatever the case may be. And they're easily manipulated. And so you run campaigns on them and whatever, you get them riled up, and then and that's actually
flatter them, you do all sorts of stuff.
That's actually how if you had big money interest and wanted to control the election, you actually give more power to the people and rip out this middle layer of responsible governors that are actually going to like do what's right for the, you know what I mean? And then the other thing is the Constitution has no political parties in it. So it's not about like right or left or this or that or the other. It's just individuals who are doing what they think is right. And so conceptually, right? And they didn't foresee that, oh, of course, there's going to be political parties that get together to try to, accumulate power and all this other kind of stuff. Certainly not that there would only be 2, right? Mm-hmm. And so you literally now have like this. It's not loyalty to America. It's loyalty to your party. So it's a Republican Party or Democratic Party. And like one of my friends was we were talking about what was the state that just did the redistricting? Virginia. Yeah. Virginia just passed their redistricting thing. So now Democrats are going to pick up more seats because of Virginia. And the whole,
a red state's going to do the same thing pretty soon to rebalance it.
But there's a finite pool of these opportunities, and the Democrats have more of them. Now, the problem with Democrats is that Democrats for years have been saying that we need to get this out of the political gerrymandering and actually which is, I think, the right idea is to like, dude, you have a nonpartisan, whatever the case may be, equally balanced group, and they come up with maps that actually reflect the communities in the district. Right. That is the intention, right? And it's now with computer modeling, it's the intention's out the window. We'll just draw the districts we want, and people don't, it's like, but so they have to kind of go back on like Schwarzenegger was talking about that. He got that amendment passed in California, which was crazy to get a Republican to sign on to it, but he was like, no, this is the right thing to do, and it's like. And even he said in the last one, he's like, well, I mean, it really sucks that they have to go back on that. But I mean, the political reality is they're going to do that, obviously, because they can't just like, they can't fight with one hand tied behind your back. Your opponent's doing this. You got to do the same thing, It's really unfortunate. And it's like the idea that you would have a political party or 2 political parties, whatever the case may be, it's the nature of the party to perpetuate itself. Right. The nature of any authority structure is to perpetuate itself and to get more authority. That's what it is. That's what it does. And so it's like the idea of these checks and balances, it only works when you have people that are loyal to the country, not the party, people
Yeah.
that are loyal to their constituents, not their, the lobbyists and the money interests that
Sure.
bribe them basically legally, and where you don't have like some party apparatus where somebody can crack the whip and say, no, 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 no. Strategically, we need to, because it is smart strategy, but it's not good policy for anybody, and it's a
A
shame.
question for you. A question for you. So my view on I'll start with a statement. My my view on the constitutional stuff is that the lack of party machinery in the Constitution was an element of naivete on the part of the founders. And the reason I say that is because they were dealing with really bad party politics with President John Adams, who was the second guy in there. So, like, it wasn't like, oh, yeah, eventually 50 years later, this happened. It's like, oh, no, 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 it happens. It's going to happen right away. And it's going to happen right away. And I think it's inevitable because if you
Yeah,
think
you're
about
talking about like literally the country's 8 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we're already doing it.
Yeah.
And it's because that the art of politics, and if you think about it, art of politics and a democracy, is to divide the people into two groups, and for your group to be the larger of the two. Like that's really what you're trying to do. Which means any system that doesn't have two primary major parties, you can always have some fringe groups, whatever. But unless you have two major parties, that means your system is inefficient. You need better politicians to be able to grab more of the pie for themselves so that they become the 51%. You don't want a system like in Europe where you have these coalition governments. Those are very fragile. You don't, it's like, oh, we got snap elections somewhere because they can't keep their coalition together. Like, you don't want that.
But hey,
You don't want that.
but isn't that a better form of government?
I don't know. I don't know. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. Right. So I think that a party system is going to be inevitable, just for efficiency concerns. But what I'm curious about, and this is something I'm not really sure, once you concede that a party system is inevitable, is it also inevitable that you're going to get the party system the way it is in the US now? Because you could think of like many different types of party systems. Like ideally, say in the UK, you have a king. And so you have not only His Majesty's government, but also His Majesty's loyal opposition, right? And their job is to oppose the government because they're so loyal to the king, right? Now I know that that's kind of,
Prosaic, but I mean that is
some
the intention.
kabuki, but still, there's at least that idea in their head. So in the U.S., it seems like that the two parties, their mission really is to resist the other party utterly.
Utterly. Well, that's what it's become. And
Yeah.
really, like, you can look back and go, okay, well, who was the first person to actually do this? I mean,
Doesn't matter.
it goes back a long way, but the first person in modern history that I can remember on the record saying that is Mitch McConnell.
Is who?
Mitch McConnell.
McConnell. Oh, okay.
Like 20 years ago, he was just like, we're just not. The answer is no to everything.
Yeah. We're not here for policy. We're here to resist you. Right?
Resist you. That's right. Yeah.
And I think there's versions of that, like different elements that come out of that. So like the general attitude of, and this is something, oh gosh, I can't think of his name now. The Raging Cajun.
Carville.
Carville. Yeah. James Carville, where he said, oh, as soon as we get into power, we must do, and he gave a list of, we got to pack the Supreme Court, we got to do this, we got to do this. And his reasoning for that wasn't like, this is the best thing to do. It's like, because they're going to do it to us. And so we have to do it first.
Yeah, but he's not, I mean, Trump, that's why Trump is saying that right now about the
filibuster. I know.
They're going to do it to us. We got to do it to them first.
We got to do it to them first because they're like, the weapon is here. It's like you have two people that, have like a vendetta against each other, and it's the part in the movie where there's a gun on the floor in front of them, but one gun, right? And so then it's like, I got to reach it first, not because I particularly want to kill you, but I have to. You're going to kill me with it if I don't get it to you first.
Yeah.
So, do you think that is inevitable? That so it's like, okay, party politics are inevitable. And so then once you have a party, it's just a matter of time before it becomes, the whole purpose is to resist to destroy the other party at the expense of everything. Like, it doesn't matter who gets hurt. It doesn't matter if we benefit the people that elected us. the whole point is to stop them from having power.
Well, so yeah. So the answer to your question is yes. I think I don't think inevitable is a strong word, but like, um, without some commitment to some higher principle or something, yeah, I do think I mean, it's historically, it has never not happened. There's a non-zero chance. Whatever
Non-zero.
it is, yeah, it has never not happened. Like it always happens. Like that is. And I think these guys that wrote that book, The Fourth Turning, they do a really good job of explaining why that is. Like generally speaking, you have some kind of societal upheaval, right? So like in our and it usually follows a pattern of 80 to 100 years, right? So the last one that we're kind of like that we're like coming off of, right before the next turning, is World War II. So you have this. So we're actually like way overdue. Like they had actually predicted some cataclysm, like say like right around now, right, or even 5 years ago. So we're on borrowed time. But like
basically so this is the time period. World War II is over and like the rebuild starts. This is that zone of time is coming to an end.
Correct. So the war is the unraveling of whatever was before, right? Okay. So whatever was before disintegrates into, and it could be a war, it could be a civil war, it could be just a collapse of, I mean, it could be whatever, but whatever it is devastating, right? Okay. And so the people that are going through that and trying to like figure it out and rebuild, right? There are kids, right, that were old enough, let's say, like what was the generation before the silent generation was, is that the greatest generation? Whatever it was, the people that actually fought in the war, right? So they were
the greatest generation.
Okay, so the people that were, let's say, 18, I think the tail end of that is the people that were 18 and could have been drafted, even if they weren't drafted, but the fact that they could have been drafted, right? Mm-hmm. So that cohort of people, imagine what the conversation is as you're in high school, right? So the conversation is, dude, because in 3 years, we're going to be out, we'll be eligible for the draft. We're going to have to go fight these people, right? So you're under this cloud of, you're going to have to be a part of this, right? So even if it ends before you get out, you still have had that stress and that imprint, right? Versus the people that came up after it was concluded. They were never eligible to be drafted, right? Okay. It was never in their space of thinking, I'm going to have to participate in this.
Is it like maybe they saw their older siblings or something?
Sure, it could have been. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that cutoff, whatever that line is, and I guess it's funny. It's not like a date, but it's like whatever that cutoff is for that person, right? They're either a part of that generation or the next one, right? So if that was never in their space and they just come of age immediately after that thing is over, right? So VJ Day, right, or whatever they used to call it, right? VJ Day, and now you're aware and you're like, holy cow, I can't believe that was actually going. I mean, I saw it on the news, but it wasn't really a thing for me, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Those people, that first cohort is because the people that are in charge when that cohort's coming up are the people who are exiting the war, right? And those people are very much like, this can never happen again, right? Like this can never happen again. That's where you get League of Nations and all this other kind of stuff, because people are like, dude, we're never going through that again. So here's what we're going to do. And they have these grand plans and they have these mission statements. They have very clear, like absolute clarity of what they're trying to accomplish, right? And it's like right or wrong, but they have absolute clarity of what it is, what it's not, why they hate that, what they see in the future, all that stuff, right? And so these kids that are growing up, and that was Biden's generation, even though he's only like 4 years older than Trump, like he's in that generation, and Trump is in the boomer generation. So it just as of the date, right? So
different.
And it's that different mindset that causes this person who looks at the same set of facts, the same environment, and draw completely different conclusions, right? So you have that silent generation that grew up. Those people's kids are people who they saw their parents build this, and they have respect, duty, honor, obligation. All these ideas are still fresh in their mind, and they're going to take what their parents did and they're going to make it even better, right? Like this is the right way to do things because our parents were smart. They saw this shit. We're not going to repeat that. And so, we're carrying on the tradition, but they're not zealots, right? They're not like Braveheart where they got that, like, they can make compromises, right?
Mm-hmm.
They look for efficiencies. They look for better ways to do things. They build systems. They build institutions. They do all this other stuff because, like, hey, we're just trying to make permanent, because we still are part of the mission, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Those people's kids are the ones that are like, I think this is all bullshit, like not quite bullshit, but more like I see the system. The system's good. It's working. How can
Mm-hmm.
I take as much advantage out of the system as possible? And that would be the boomers, right? The boomers are like, how do I? Okay, I understand that. I understand it. We got a stock market with it. All this different stuff. How do I make this work for me, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
that third generation, right? So you got the builders that exit the trauma, the kids that grow up, build the institutions. The third generation is the one that starts to engage in the self-dealing and how can I improve my position? How can I advance my team is better than your team, da, da, da. And all of those things, that ossification starts to set in. And then you have that Gen X group, which is us. And we're the ones that are like, this is all horseshit. This is a scam. This is this and that. And what's happening is almost always our generation, we're the ones that are stuck dealing with when it all implodes, right? We're the ones that are going to be of it. And think about it, like we're
We're in our late 40s, early 50s.
early 50s, and so late 50s, early 60s, whatever. And you're the people you're the old white hairs that are kind of trying to put the pieces back together, right? And you're the ones that are like, man, I told them this was nonsense, right? All that stuff. And then so we're the ones that are going to be guiding us through this, and then it'll be up to our kids to take it forward, and then the cycle will repeat again, right? And so it's like, because that's the pattern that they've observed, right? So however it speaks to human nature or whatever. So I mean, I don't know, is it inevitable? You would like to think that mentalities evolve over time, that people, but if you look at like, I was watching Star Trek the other day, and there's a great episode where well, two things I'll say that I just saw that would kind of like feed into this. That Star Trek episode, The Edge of Tomorrow, where they go, Edith Keeler or whatever, you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's not the concept of, for people watching this that don't know. So like basically they go to this planet and there's a portal where you can go back in time, and one of the crew members goes back in time accidentally, like falls through the portal or whatever, and immediately after he disappears in the portal, the Enterprise is gone. They're stranded on this planet, like they're because and then the portal tells them, oh, your friend changed time. And he went back and changed something, and now, you don't have a fleet. There is no Starfleet, whatever the case may be. So they have to go back and find the time when he went in and preclude him from doing whatever he did, right? And what he did, which makes the episode so fascinating, is at that time there was a person who was a pacifist and a peace person, and was basically during the Cold War was lobbying for nuclear drawdown. Right. To say, let's sign a peace accord with the Soviets and nuclear drawdown because we're going to destroy each other, all of which is absolutely true. And that's valid. But because she did it
the wrong time,
too early, and people hadn't learned that, hey, well, actually, this system is better than that system. Because of that, then, it totally diverted history. Right. And it's like, wow. So that was a great idea, but that was the claim of the episode, right? So back then in the
Harlan Ellison, by the way, is the writer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, great sci-fi author.
Think about like the 60s and the flower movement and all this stuff, and the war protests with Vietnam and all that. Like back then we had a really clear idea, at least those people had a really clear idea that like war's not the answer. We're going to destroy ourselves, right? And all of which is absolutely valid. Like you've got nuclear weapons, like we can incinerate the planet some 20,000 times over, whatever the case may be. It's like, we cannot just like operate under a might is right framework anymore, because where that framework ends is annihilation. And so let's instead build the order that we've been living under up until really this, I wouldn't say this president's, but like, he's certainly the clearest example of somebody who doesn't give a rip about the established order, right? I'm going to do whatever I want that I see is in the best interest of my country. I'm sure to like give him some grace there, but like,
but bend it till it breaks.
Yeah. Until it breaks, because at some point, and there's another movie that I just saw a couple days ago again, because I was telling Dan about this movie Payback, or not Payback. That's Mel Gibson. Paycheck, as Ben Affleck in it, and he's like a reverse engineer guy.
I don't know that I've seen that.
Oh, that's a great movie. Oh, in that case, I don't want to spoil it for you because
Oh,
it's worth watching. But
well,
um,
let me look it up. Um,
it's Uma Thurman, Ben Affleck, Aaron Eckhart. It's a great cast. Um, yeah, I don't want to because I would usually
2003.
yeah I would usually lay that out, but
John Woo.
yeah, I know how you love movies, so I don't want to. You should watch it.
I have not
We'll
seen
discuss
this.
that next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ben Affleck won a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor
in that movie.
for
Oh
that
yeah,
movie.
he's not at his best. He's not at his best, and it's
Okay.
typical John Woo. With like somebody gets punched and there's a slow motion, whatever.
There's doves
Yeah,
flying
no
out.
doves. No, he was
No doves.
yeah.
No doves.
Well, this was before
Let
Mission
me see. Let me
Impossible
see
2.
where it's available to watch. I'll watch it. I'll watch it this
Well,
weekend.
bottom line is your question about is that inevitable? I think I don't know if inevitable is the right word, but I would certainly say predictable. It is very predictable that over time that's where it goes. And so like at some point there needs to be a reset. And I think that's, and according to these authors, this fourth turning authors that I think I sent you that a couple of years ago. It's just that reset can either be something that we take up and do together,
Mhm.
or it's something that's forced upon you. But either way, the reset happens, So
So you're thinking like, okay, maybe. So when you say predictable, would you say like likely or usual? And then
yes.
it's like we sort of get it out of our systems, or the people that started it have to die off and let the next group
Well,
fix what they fix what they messed up.
yeah, because people forget, like they don't, it's like when something happens, it's like, so, it's like, I remember losing a bunch of weight years ago. I was on this, I did the master cleanse or whatever. And
Oh no,
I
this is
dropped a
the
ton of
cayenne
weight.
pepper and water.
Yeah, I did. And I did it. I lost so much weight and I felt so good. I'm like, I'm going to do this again in 3 months. Right. And I did it again. I did it like, I want to say like 4 or 5 times over the next like 3 years.
Whoa.
And it's really good for you. Like if you, obviously check with a physician, but like
If you're into fasting.
Yeah, I'd never fasted in my life, like really, I mean, one time I tried to follow a friend through Ramadan just to, moral support. And I was like, I don't know how you do this, man. But like, that was literally like 10 plus twos. You have 2 at the end. So 12 days of nothing but water and that liquid mixture. So like, complete fast. And I did not know if I could do it the first time. After the first time, I was like, okay, no, I can do that. I can handle it. And it was good. It was mentally strong and all this stuff. Well, anyway,
as long as you're not thinking about it, right? Like go do other stuff.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, you got to keep yourself.
Yeah, if you're sitting there going like, I'm real hungry right now, like, get out of the house.
As an aside, too, I was telling a friend about this the other day. I was like, it's so funny. You get desensitized, but like when I was on that fast, I was immediately aware of like, well, not immediately, but like 4 or 5 days in, I was like, my God, man, they're trying to sell you food everywhere. I mean, the billboard all the time. It's food. And how much of your time is spent thinking about food? Like not just, it's not like you just sit around daydreaming about food, but most people, but it's like, oh, I need to think about dinner. What's for dinner? Right. And I need to think about who am I going to eat it with? What's it going to be? How much time do I need to prepare it? Right. And then you eat. And so that takes time. And then after you're done eating, then it's like, okay, I got to clean everything up and
Yeah.
and then you got to go, relieve yourself and process the food that you ate. All those different things. When you rip all of that out of your system, it's like, man, you got a lot of time on your hands. It's really interesting. But anyway, I digress. What I was going to say is, when I got skinny, like the skinniest I've ever been, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and going, man, I am never going to be fat again. Like, I'm never doing that again.
That's it.
That is it. That has never happened. And dude, and for years, I was like, good, and then over time, you just forget. And so here I am fat again, right? So it's like, but it is what it is. It's like, that's human nature, right? So it's like, Robbie, I digest, I don't digress. But yeah, it's that I think that's natural. So I think like it's like you learn these lessons and you're like, okay, this is why we're putting this together this way. But then 100 years later, like in this typical cycle that they're describing, the people 100 years later, they're not attached to any of that, at all. So
yeah, it's sad though. Like it's one of those where it's one thing for each person to sort of fight their demons on their own or whatever and go in cycles, but like this generational length, like the fourth turning book, like if that's true, then I mean,
I don't know that it's true, but you can
no, true, but
they in the book they map out every turning
yeah.
between when they wrote it was 20 years ago. They just came out with a second edition, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but they map out every turning going back to the 1500s. So it is not like some
No,
cockamamie.
no, no. I know. All I'm saying is that like if what they're saying is right, then it's like if you're just born at the wrong time, then your whole it's like, hey, you can try to make things better, but we're just not at that turning yet.
But
We're at
isn't
the
that
turning
isn't
where
that
things are just going to be
isn't
kind
that
of crappy, and you just got to put up with it.
but isn't that an interesting thing about though too? Because like you're 100% right, but isn't also the accident of where you're born, right? Like if you happen to be
Oh, sure.
born in this, not even just in Appalachia versus Texas versus California versus wherever, like you're going to grow up with different influences and inputs and people around you saying whatever, right? That just addresses America. What if you're born in Mexico? What if you're born in Puerto Rico? What if you're born in freaking Papua New Guinea? I mean, you might think you're Tarzan. You don't even know who Tarzan is. But you think you're him. So to me, it's like, yeah, that the accident of where you're born and when you're born is so. It's interesting too because uh, a couple of years ago when I read that book and I was kind of talking to some people about it, I'm like, man, have you read this? It's so interesting. And it's like it was like reading that Confessions book. It's just like eye opening. Once you see it, it's like hard to unsee it. And you're kind of like, it doesn't make me hopeless. It makes me actually hopeful. It's like, okay, well these cycles are always turning, and so it's not what I was before I read that book. I was very much in the mindset of trajectories, right? And like, okay, what is the trajectory on? Are we on a up into the right trajectory, or are we down into the down into the right trajectory? Trajectories, the way we think of them are time moves like this river, and we're in it. Either the river is going the right way or the wrong way. And how do we get back on track? All of those things, right? If we keep on this direction, but ultimately, like, yeah, that's life. That's the cycle. And like ultimately, like I'm going to do the best I can in the cycle that I'm in to have an impact on the wheel, but ultimately the wheel's going to turn, right? And it's like that song, right? So I think it's fascinating. Think about
Which one? Wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Yeah.
Don't know if
Journey.
I'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Journey, man.
It keeps me yearning. A little journey.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. Well, I think, dude, that goes back to Solomon, right? Like for every time, turn, right?
There's a season. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fascinating to think about. It's like, wow, that's so sad. Like, I wish I was born in that one or this one. But then it's like, oh, well, now you're just hitting yourself in the head like you weren't. So deal with what you got, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to this guy. You ever listen to what's the guy's name? Sad Guru. It's SADH. So Sadhguru, right? I can't say it the Indian way. Robbie can probably do it. But we need to have Robbie back on here. He can talk some sense to us. But
but fix us up here a little bit.
This guy, he's I don't know how old he is, but he's got a couple million followers. It's a pretty big. He's a yogi, right? But
Okay.
But he's Robbie's like true. His story was so interesting. He was like he basically grew up the son of this doctor in India, and privileged kid, went to a privileged school, but he was just a really bad student. He was like, dude, I just whatever I looked at, like I knew at an early age. I realized at early age, like 4 or 5 years old, that I really didn't know anything. And so every time I'm like, they give me something like to look at and understand, what is this? I don't understand. How does this work? It's just, if it's a leaf, if it's this, if it's a cup of water, it's just like, I don't understand. I don't know. I don't, not that he didn't know what it was for, but he didn't know what it was. Right. And so he's just kind of like on this quest to learn, but the way he would pay attention, instead of like, okay, teach me the answers, it was more like just listening to people talk, and literally like their words would occur as more like sounds to him. And I don't know, there's probably some clinical definition for what his condition was, but he just was this kind of this seeker type of a person. And I guess at some point in his young life, he's like, I sat down to just kind of contemplate. I closed my eyes and I just kept my eye to search for answers, right? And I thought, well, if I just remove these inputs and I can just like think, okay, what am I first, right? And then kind of go on that path. And so ultimately he opened his eyes and he thought he'd been like, meditating for 30 minutes or so, but he'd been sitting there for like 13 days. And like a crowd had gathered around and people had put, because it was in India, they'd put like flowers on it and all that. Like this,
he's going through enlightenment. Like,
yeah,
congratulations, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Just like,
Hey, no Boston references in chat. No.
What?
Sorry.
Oh. I didn't even miss that. That's right. Yeah. Why not, man? We did Journey. He can do Boston.
No. It's too sacred.
He's very interesting. He's not. I wouldn't call him a philosopher, really. It's more just like he's just. I'll send you something.
Why not?
You tell me what you think of it. He's fascinating. But I can't remember where I was going with that. But it was more like thinking about like these narratives, right? It's like you think of like, okay, am I on this trajectory, or am I in a wheel, or I've been born in this place, so now I can't do this, or this is what's going to happen, blah blah blah. And you find yourself maybe trapped in this narrative, whatever it is. And he's like, ultimately, like whatever that narrative is just completely made up. Like that's great. They wrote a book, and they can talk about history, but all of that's memory, and it's memory that's not real anymore. It's like it was, but it's no longer here. Like what's here is here, but we tend to live our life either analyzing what happened and then making up stories about it, or either anticipating or dreading the future, right? And so whatever, but you're very rarely like actually like in life, so to speak. You're really more talking about life or thinking about life or anticipating life or afraid of life or blah blah blah, whatever the thing is, and you're never really like. And so so then let's have all these conversations about all this stuff, not realizing that like, dude, ultimately, like if everything that you're worried about is outside of you, then there's nothing you can really do about any of that anyway. And why would you even want to? Because it's over there. Like, he's a fascinating cat.
It's one of those where, maybe if you find yourself in one of those sort of bad turnings, which one is the bad ones, that you think
they're not good or bad. They're just turnings.
They're just turnings. Yeah. Whatever. Unpleasant ones. But you could say, well, my task is to enjoy this turning.
Well, that's exactly what his point was. It's like, dude, like whether it's good or bad is literally your interpretation of the events. Somebody else could look at it and say, man, sorry for what you're going through. Right. But there's probably 7 billion.
We didn't have it as bad as Grandpa had it.
well, his point is like there's probably 7 billion people on this planet. Whatever an American is going through, right? There's 7 billion people that would trade places with that person immediately, right? And,
sure.
Yeah. And so it's like, so what's good or bad is literally like your interpretation of what it is, right? So there's people that have far, far less than you that are having a very pleasant experience. And then there are people that are you. And it's like, the podcast I'm thinking of, he was on Howie Mandel's podcast. And if you know, Howie is very, like, he's a germaphobe. He's very like, he's got all these tics and he's very OCD. And so it was so fascinating to watch these two go back and forth, because he's like, help me understand, man. Give me the answer. You ever watch Howie's podcast? So his daughter's on the podcast with him, and she's a mom of like 2 kids. I want to say like 9 and 11. So a little younger than your kids, a little older than my kids. So his daughter is there with him, and she's just like, well, my dad is this and that. And he's like telling them both, like, no. Why are you doing this? Like, leave him alone. He's having his own journey, And but it's fascinating because he's explaining stuff from his perspective. Like, well, what about this? What about this? Have you thought about this? Right. And how he's like, well, I don't understand. I need, so what you're saying, like Ravi just offered, like mindfulness, right? And how he would like keep offering these things. He's like, no, you're trying to draw a conclusion. He's like, why are you always trying to draw a conclusion? And how he's like, what do you mean? I'm just trying to understand, man. He's like, no, you are trying to draw a conclusion. You're coming to a conclusion. He goes, what is a conclusion? Isn't a conclusion like death?
You're done thinking.
Like, that's the end, right? This concludes our program, right? What is the conclusion of your life? Like, you're dead. So like every time you make a conclusion, you're actually like killing a line of inquiry that you had, right? Like, you were curious about this, you're investigating it, and now you have arrived at a conclusion. And so you can close that line of inquiry, right? And so
now you're done.
Problem solved, right? Yeah.
Very important that you don't go back and relook at that, because it's already over.
It's but you've already made your conclusion. So what's the problem?
Yeah,
Are you happy with? Oh, you're not happy with your conclusion. Well, then, it was fascinating.
You're talking about trading places. There's a funny story that my wife, back when she was living in Austin, she had a Nissan Z. It was a 360Z, 350Z. So a little two-seater, very fast. She let me drive it every once in a while, but I always drove. I was like, let's see if I can drift it and stuff. And she was just like, no,
Wait, who is this?
What?
Who is this?
Who's what?
Who had the 350?
Marissa.
Marissa did?
Yes. Beautiful Z.
350?
Yeah. Oh man, I really like driving that thing. Anyway, it was very powerful and very responsive, great balance, anything. And
reminded you of yourself, huh?
she was talking to her mom because she was complaining because she was having to replace the tires on it, and they were like very expensive, these tires on a car like that. And she's just going on and on about they had to special order it and all this other stuff. And she said her mom was on the phone. Her mom was like, "Oh, my sports car. Oh my." Like, wait a minute,
Exactly. Oh, my expensive sports car has problems.
Yeah, like it's got problems. Oh my!
How sad! How sad!
Oh, your life's so difficult.
Did you watch that motorcycle video I sent you?
Which one?
The one was this $1,500 motorcycle Americans won't buy or can't.
Oh no, I haven't yet. I've got it queued up. That's the I'm assuming it's the Super Cub. Am I right? The Honda Super Cub.
It is a Honda. It is not. I don't know if it's a Super Cub. It's something else. But what they did is these guys back in the '60s went to, because they're selling all these motorcycles in like Indonesia, the Philippines, all these places, right? And they go. They're like, hey, we're gonna go around these countries, just kind of observe how people are using these bikes. We're gonna come up with our next bike, and they're just shocked because they're like, man, these people. They put like their whole family on the back of this motorcycle. They got like 5 people hanging off of it. The oil hasn't been changed in years. It's all sludgy and gross and whatnot. But it's like it just keeps going. And so they come back and they go, okay, we're going to design a motorcycle, and we're going to assume a couple things. We're going to assume that the person who buys this is never going to maintain it. They're never going to change the oil. They're never going to do anything, right?
Yep.
And we're going to just make a motorcycle that's designed for that person, right? And it's super affordable. We got to keep it under, like, I can't remember what the pricing was, but it was, it was a pricing target and all this other stuff. And so it literally, like, it doesn't even have a belt. The entire thing is gears, like, because they're not
belt you'd have to replace.
Right. Gears just work, right? It's like, you're not going to get high performance, but that's not what this is for. This is for like, and they sell like, it's the #1 selling bike in the world, right? And the people that buy them, they pass them down, father to son, all this stuff. It's just it was a fascinating YouTube video. In fact, I'll try to put it in the Facebook post of this video. People can watch it. It's just fascinating. I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. That like there's always somebody else out there. Like, it's like, why wouldn't you sell that in America? It's like, well, because Americans don't want that. Like, Americans they already have a car, most of them. Like that's the first thing you're going to get. You have to get around. Well, you need a car. You need a car.
You're getting a car before you like have your own place to live.
Yeah.
Like, that's your first thing.
That's exactly right.
That might be your first home.
That might be your first home. That's right.
It was for me.
That's right. And you don't have, like if you buy a motorcycle, like that's typically in America, not everybody, but like typically is
it's a luxury.
It's a luxury. It's a second thing. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it's already something else. So I'm only going to ride that when the weather's nice. I'm going to ride it with my friends. Got to show up. I got to show this off, right? This is literally like a courier bike, but yeah, people, that is their daily driver, in some of these countries. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Honda, man.
So smart, man. So smart. Yeah. I was gonna see if you had any interest in talking about before we sign off here. Although we're doing pretty good on time, but there was the I don't know if you want to talk about the ceasefire at all. I've got
Schrodinger's ceasefire.
Schrodinger's ceasefire. Yeah, exactly. It's both on and off at the same time.
Yeah, and it's also being imposed by both sides and violated by both sides.
Yeah,
So
you can't block the straight. I'm blocking the straight.
yeah.
You're violating the straight. You're violating.
I still love my favorite meme of this whole thing was when the straight was announced. Someone posted on PDW Trump throwing out the Uno reverse
The
card.
reverse card.
Like, no, I'm blocking
No,
it.
skip,
Wait,
reverse. So we had that. We had the asylum ban. I don't know if you saw that when they blocked the appeals court ruled Trump's border asylum restrictions were illegal. Although I don't know that that's going to be as big of a thing. One of the things that hasn't been talked about that much is the quiet softening of ICE and the deport everyone now is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Like the only thing, Homan and who's the new guy that took over from Noam, that Milley or whatever. He's like, we got to get the worst of the worst out of here. Now they're squarely talking about criminals. They know that issue is coming back to bite them, so they're reframing that.
Yeah.
There was a couple of congressional candidates that got suspended for betting on their own races on Kalshi. I don't know if you saw that. That was interesting.
Yes, I keep forgetting I should not assume that these people are corrupt.
Right. Don't assume that. Yeah, exactly. Don't assume that. And Biden's famous for that. It's okay to judge people's actions, but never judge their motives. It's like, actually, I'm going to go ahead and judge some motives here.
Yeah.
There's a mall shooting. There was one, and 5 people were injured in Louisiana. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, what was the deal with that?
That one, I didn't follow that, but I was kind of looking through, like these are the things that popped on my radar. What did I miss? Right. I was like, oh, I totally missed that. It's amazing what you miss. There's just so much happening. It's like you got the missing scientists, right? The dead or the missing scientists. I don't know if you've had a chance. We floated that a couple.
I looked into it a little bit. I'm not sure yet what's going on or if there's a link. It's too early for me on that one.
Too early. There's the conspiracy theory that the latest moon shot, the astronauts that went around that was faked.
Why?
I don't know if you've been seeing it. Some of the camera angles, some of the these different things that they came out. They're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like there was no steam coming off of the capsule as it came back down into the atmosphere like you would expect. Like different things like that. They're thinking like, oh, maybe it was probably dropped off of a cargo jet or something like that. And the funny thing is, I'm not usually receptive to those. Those are, to me, sound like craziness. But Dan, our buddy, had one of the guys that was in the capsule allegedly sold books with Dan, and so I was like, you need to text your boy and say, how did you guys pull this hoax off? The other big thing about that was there's video of the astronauts coming back. And there are people standing there taking pictures. And the video of that's shot of this whole scene, when the people are holding up their phones to take pictures, there's nothing in the phones. Like it's literally just an empty, like they're taking pictures of nothing.
Like it's a blank.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And they're like, well, was this whole thing faked? I'm like, well, dude, if you're gonna fake it, the easiest thing to fake is a press conference. Like, why would you have a fake press? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. You'd fake something else.
We spent billions of dollars on a rocket launch that went nowhere, but then we screwed up the press conference.
Screwed up the press.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe that's that's kind of one of the reasons I've been not terribly sympathetic to the Apollo ones either. And it just has to do with the incredible expense. Like spending that chunk of the economy on something that's not real. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Impossible is too hard to say. Like I would have had to have gone up there and been like, I walked on it. So,
the hoax was so good that the people working in mission control bought it, right? So like, I mean, this was a tightly controlled conspiracy, right? Like,
yeah. And it's like, well, if they, since they actually did build the rockets,
they built those for the Smithsonian, though. Yeah.
Well, we have a ton of photo evidence and people working on them and stuff that, like, we know they built the rockets. So then it's like, well, what did they do with the rockets then? I guess they didn't put the people in it. They launched it and then it splashed down somewhere. And I mean, maybe
it's really interesting to me. Like, how still people get like riled up about this one. Like to me, do you ever see that movie Interstellar?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you know the scene at the beginning when his daughter gets suspended because she brings the old textbooks which talk about the moon landings, and yeah, we've replaced those with the corrected versions that say that, you know, we didn't go to the moon, it was a hoax, and it was a brilliant piece of propaganda, bankrupt the Soviets, whatever. And he just like, uh, he
Because
loses it.
we don't find out until about 15 minutes later who this guy is.
Right. Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. When he says useless machines, he's like, you know, one of those useless machines we used to make was called an MRI, and if they still had those, my wife wouldn't have died of cancer, and then she'd be sitting here listening to this, which would have been better because, you know, she was always the calm one. And he says something like, she's like, well, you know, what are we going to do? We need to come up with an action plan or whatever. He's like, yeah, you know, she really loves baseball. Favorite team's playing today, and they have popcorn. I think maybe I'll take her to that.
my action plan.
Yeah, I think I'll take her to that. It's like, what happened? I got you suspended. But he said when Rogan had some guy on his podcast a couple of years ago, and he was this expert that had debunked the moon landing, right? He has this website, had all this stuff, years of experience, documentation proving we never went there, right? And he makes a really good case, right? I went to his website, looked at the different videos. But it's, you know, it's very much like the video I was talking about at the very beginning of the podcast. When you frame the video and you say, now, and they show the video, freeze frame, annotate, look right here. What's this, right? And so he goes, but I was like, man, this is really interesting. I was thinking about it for a couple of days. I was having beers with a buddy of mine, a new friend of mine in the neighborhood at the time, just moved in, and we're hanging out or whatever. You guys watch Rogan? Did you see the guy he had on the other day? He was talking about how the moon landings were fake. These two dudes like lost their mind. Like, what? That is complete crap. Of course we went to this. It's been proven, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, like, I mean, you're younger than me.
Like,
I'm not even allowed. I don't even, I mean, like, whatever. To me, it's if they went, it's a great story. If they didn't go, it's a great story. I don't care. Like, it's a good movie either way. It doesn't matter to me at all. Tim Dillon, I don't know if you watch his podcast, but he was talking about, you know, there's so much stuff that's coming out now that's calling into a lot of question about the Butler assassination that, you know, it was probably actually really staged. And here's why, because she heard that in the beginning, and it's kind of like easy to write off. But then the more stuff that comes out, you're like, that is really
whose assassination? Who?
The Butler Trump attempted assassination, the Butler shooting.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought the Butler, like the Butler done it, but
yeah,
Butler PA. Sorry.
Well, there's so much of this stuff that's coming out where people are like, you know, even people that had written it off to begin with are kind of like, I don't know, man, that does not seem plausible. Like, actually, this doesn't make any sense at all. And, you know, they have pictures of Trump's ear, and it's like, here's a picture of my face. This scar I got 28 years ago from something like this, but his ear was shot with an AR-15, like no scar at all, right? It's like, I just don't think he was really shot. Like, it's a pro wrestler. You know, Trump was affiliated with WWF for a long time, right? And so
what about the people behind him that died?
There was one guy that was killed. Yeah. And so yeah, that was always my pushback was like, dude, like the real person died. Like, so I mean, that's not and there's no way. I mean, if it was a hoax, was
it like the one that Alex Jones got sued for, where he claimed that people were actors or something?
That's right, crisis actors, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the guy that died was that also part of the act? Like, was he an actor pretending?
Well, exactly. I'm like, dude, like, okay, if it was a hoax, like let's just take it on for a minute. If it was a hoax, you're saying that Trump allowed himself to stand on stage while somebody near missed him with a bullet? There's no way. I don't care if he did. Then he's still the bravest MF ever. You know? So
no, I just like him more.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, what was that? Years and years ago when we were in church, I remember somebody was when we were growing up in church. You know, they would say, well, you know, there's a lot of people that think that the Red Sea crossing, right? That wasn't a hoax, but like that, you know, the Bible says Moses parted the water and all this other kind of stuff. And it's like, that's not what really happened. You know, what really happened was the sea was really low at that time of year, and they were able to walk across in the mud and whatnot. And, you know, and now it has become this legend that, you know, God parted the waters. And it's like, yeah, okay. Wow. That's a bummer. Find out God didn't really part the waters. And it's like, But then maybe the bigger miracle is, how did God make all the Egyptian army drown in like 2 inches of mud? You know, that's a huge miracle in that case.
That's amazing.
Either way, it's like the story either didn't happen at all that way, but whatever version you pick, like God comes out a winner in this story, right? It's like same thing. Well, so Tim Dillon, who's a comedian, has a podcast, pretty good. It's pretty good. He's I don't know if I don't slap a label on him, but he's kind of a populist, slightly left populist, but also like not left enough to where he was calling out Kamala's stuff all the time. He was kind of more like, maybe, I don't want to say like, I'm not in his head, but I identified with a lot of what he was saying, because it was like, dude, I'm not a fan of this guy, but on the other hand, like, you guys are screwing the pooch so bad. I can't even apologize for you anymore. This is ridiculous. And he was saying, he was like, I think it was faked. He's like, but I don't know, but I think it was, but I don't know. Right. It's kind of his style of talking. He's like, I just think what they should do, because they got the midterms coming up, all this other stuff, everybody's freaking out, Iran and all this stuff. What they need to come out is just admit that that was a fake, right? If Trump came out and said, listen, we faked it. Here's why we did it. We had to save the country from these lunatics, and the best way to do it was this. And we're sorry about it. We just want to come clean about it. And it is what it is. He goes, I would actually applaud. I would be like, dude, you're actually even cooler now than you were before, right? Like I can't believe you had the chutzpah. It is so funny, dude. I was gonna face down the bullet. Yeah, funny thing about his podcast is like, I don't listen to it all the time, but like usually like I'll come across it in shorts, and then I'll go, what? And I'll go back and try to catch the actual full clip or whatever. He's just hysterical. I don't think he believes half what he says, but he's very funny the way he talks. He's like, you should totally do that. It's really good. Come out and admit it.
That would be an amazing story. Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Oh man, yeah. Well, the other one, I don't know if have you been following who's the kid? The Tyler. What's the guy's name? That shot Charlie Kirk. Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson. Have you been watching this case evolve or whatever?
No.
You should just go look into it. It's fascinating. The defense team, the stuff that the defense doesn't have, like they can't produce, the government has not produced the weapon. They've not produced, like, for real. It's like, dude, it's been like 9 months, haven't produced, like, and there's all these deadlines they keep pushing off. Well, and somebody was theorizing, it was like, well, okay, if this guy is a patsy, like if there was a conspiracy, if this guy is a patsy, the only way really out for the government at this point is that he dies. Because if he dies, then all of a sudden, well, the prosecution's moved. We don't have to produce anything. And he died before we could bring justice. It's so sad, but
yeah, something happened. Jack Ruby shot him.
Yeah, it was like, exactly. It was like, dude, if I was Tyler Robinson, I would be scared to death right now. Like, that you're going to get eliminated, because there's so many things that they have like botched with this so-called prosecution delivering the evidence. Just Google it, you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll check that one. I've been trying to kind of stay out of watching the courtroom cases. Just I find them like really depressing, But
what's depressing about
them? I mean, just the loss of life, and they seem to be like centered around people who seem to have like genuinely disturbed individuals. It's like if you had caught a suicide bomber before plunged the jacket, and now he's in jail, and he's brought out, and it's like, it got radicalized somehow, and this is just sad. And I don't know, like,
you ever watch that show Homeland back in the day, the Claire Danes?
Yeah, I watched a couple seasons of it before it got silly.
Yeah, before it got silly. But that
first season was really good.
First season is excellent. That's what I was going to refer to is to watch once you kind of get the hang of what's going on, to watch the radicalization of like whatever his name, I forget, the redheaded dude, Brody maybe, or am I thinking of Point Break? No, that's Bodie.
You're right,
Brody. Yeah, just to watch his, like, the way he was radicalized is so, like, when you watch it, you're like, man, that's totally plausible how somebody could get there mentally. Not maybe with the suicide vest, but like where you could literally become completely like, I'm switching sides. It's like whether you watch Avatar, Dances with Wolves, or whatever else, it's like you see that narrative of, and I'm sure nefarious or not, like that's of course the narrative that's being spun in those
Yeah.
populations to recruit those people. It's like, dude, like we're fighting the sky people here, man. We gotta do what we gotta do. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it those are always to me just like very difficult to watch. So I usually try to read stuff about it after it's done, but like the actual process of the trial is like, oh, the defense filed this motion and they're trying to keep this out so the jury doesn't see it, but here's what it is anyway. And I'm just like, I don't, I can't do it. Like it's just too sad.
It begs the question of what is radicalization anyway? Like,
Oh,
was Jimmy Stewart, gets radicalized in Broken Arrow, right? Like Kevin Costner gets radicalized in Dance with the Wolves. Like, well, oh look, now he's turned into a terrorist. It's like, but that's
yeah.
the framework. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think usually radicalization is going to involve something like you've been convinced that the ends justify the means in such a way that the means can be like extreme to the level that sort of shocks the conscience. So thinking of there's conspiracy theories about this one, but like imagine that the normal story about Tim McVeigh is true. So a guy, has these anti-government thoughts and eventually builds this incredible fertilizer bomb, parks it in front of an Oklahoma City building, detonates it and kills all these people and all this other stuff. And you're like, what, why? It's like, well, the ends justify the means at a level that now I am justified in doing something like truly horrifying because it has to be done. It just has to be done. And so it's like that. That's usually what I think of as radicalization. So I think when you're like switching sides, I mean, those are usually just called like traitors or something, but it's like no, like I'm not just switching sides, but I'm gonna try to kill everybody in my area because it needs to be done. That's
like
like,
like a Thanos. Like, no, it's just gotta half of everybody needs to.
we just got to kill these people,
Gotta kill these people.
or do whatever, like or do some horrible thing. But because you've become convinced that that's the only way.
Yeah, it has to happen. Somebody's got to have the moral character to do it, and I'll do it. And it's like, to them, they are the moral one. It's everybody else that's immoral. I'm trying to
Coward,
say, right, yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's the way I usually think of it.
Yeah, interesting, bro. Well, any other closing topics that you got in the last?
There was one that came up a couple of about a week or two ago out of Finland. And this one was kind of a Finns. Yeah, it was an interesting study. So it was on transgender youth. And what's kind of interesting about it is that Finland is one of those places that has very centralized medical care for trans people. So it's very unlike the U.S. The U.S. you have you can basically you can walk into any clinic or Planned Parenthood or whatever, and you could say, "Hey, I'm having these feelings, and I would like medical intervention." And they give you informed consent. They're like, "Are you sure? Here's what," and you're like, "Yeah, I'm totally sure." And they, well, there you go. Right, it's right there. It's very decentralized. There's no way to tell who's doing what or whatever. But in Finland, there are two primary clinics, and everything would get referred to them because it's a government-run healthcare system. It's like, oh well, here you're feeling that way. Here's a referral. You go talk to the specialist. And so they did a 20-year study, is from 96 to 2019, so 23 years, where they've tracked people that have gone through these, and they've, for every person, they actually put two controls in there as well. So people who either did not get referred to surgery or any kind of medical treatment for this, or they were concerned that they had too many psychiatric problems that they weren't sure if it would be ethical to also do
Mm-hmm.
transgender treatments and so on.
Yeah,
So it's very
they
carefully
didn't have the
done, like
ability to actually consent because, yeah, I got you.
because they're in psychological distress for other
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
So it's very carefully done. The Finnish society, from what I can tell, very compassionate people, and they put this together. So when they did this study, it turns out from the end of it that basically the people who had medical treatments, which they're classifying as either hormones for at least a year or surgeries. So like maybe you went
So
on for
hormones
two
for a year minimum or surgery.
or
Literally.
surgery, yeah.
Okay.
So like if someone was on hormones for 2 months, but then decided it wasn't for them, or someone took puberty blockers but never took hormones, doesn't count. Like you have to be taking the cross sex hormones
Got it.
for at least a year. So that's how they defined it. Um, but that the people who had these treatments, their psychological condition deteriorated. So one of the things that had always been sort of preached almost as gospel, at least in the United States, by W. Path and a couple others, was that you have to do these treatments because if you keep people from doing
Better
these
to have
treatments,
a live daughter than a dead son or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if that had been just sort of like everyone knows, like this is a life-saving treatment. But it turns out that at least from the Finland data, which again, the system is not the same as ours, so apples and oranges, So this is just one little data point. Was that I think it was like 2 to 1 um, worse, worse outcomes. Um, so the study's conclusion was that severe psychiatric morbidity is common among gender-referred adolescents and appears to be more prevalent in those referred after the surgeon referrals. Psychiatric needs do not subside after medical gender reassignment. So at least it's the case that their psychiatric problems were not alleviated by this, but potentially based on how you
Arguably, they
look,
get worse. Yeah.
they get worse, and by worse, quite a bit worse. The mean follow-up period, by the way, was 5.5 years. So it's not like, oh, the honeymoon phase or various issues that might have come up early but then get resolved. So the thing after 5.5 years, you probably know whether this is a good treatment option or not. And so, yeah, it looks pretty bad, I think, for the case that it's life-saving treatment.
You know what's
Um,
interesting to me, and
yeah.
I haven't read this, so I can't draw any conclusions, but it's interesting to me that, here's a government who has a live and let live philosophy and even a enablement / empowerment, however you want to
Yeah.
phrase that.
We'll help you live the way you
Culture.
want to live.
Yeah, you want to do that? But in fact, we'll hook you up. So, and then has been doing that long enough that they can conduct a 23-year study or whatever, right? It's like, wow, okay, let's do this, and then let's study it at the same time and see what the results are. Which I think is, I mean, there's no way to study it before you start implementing. So I understand the sequencing there, but it's like, okay, when was this released? This was in 20.
This is a couple weeks ago.
No, okay, the study lasted until 2019. And when did they release this study though? Oh, first published April 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
So it took 6 years or so to be peer reviewed and whatnot. Okay. So here it is, right? Here are the results. And I can't believe, is this the only study that's ever been done on this, or?
Well, it looks like this is the one with the longest period of tracking people, and it also because they have it's sort of unique because of the way their gender clinics are set up. By looking at one, I think they only used one of the two gender clinics, but that gave them 50% of the entire nation's population of transgender people.
It's
So it's
interesting.
like it's a huge cross section that wouldn't be possible in any other system.
See, it's interesting to me too. Like when you read, like, okay, what are the aims of the study ostensibly, right? It's like, it's not like, does this work? It's literally like they're trying to figure out, like, how can we improve upon the services that we're offering?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, are there differences in need for these people versus these people? Like, literally trying to find the most effective way to deliver the services that they're offering. Not like, are these transitions, should they be supported by society? None of that. It's like,
No.
well, we do support it, and what's the best way to deliver it? And even with that, to come up like, we intended to try to find this, but what we've actually found is it actually makes the situation, it certainly doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. Maybe we should stop doing it. To me, that's what I don't understand about the American, just to bring it into our culture.
Yeah.
Because I got a lot of heat months ago when we talked about this for the first time, and people were like, you don't, you're being bigoted, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think I was, and I do know. In fact, I have a transgender friend. I have multiple people in my life that are transgender. I have no problem.
Some of my best friends are transgender.
I didn't say that. I don't have a best friend who's transgender. Unfortunately, but I just don't have one. Facts are facts. But but whatever. Okay, maybe there's some underlying knee jerk reaction that I have going on because of some biases in my head. Like literally, I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't mean to be like that, but I don't think that's where I'm coming from. But I appreciate your point of view. But it's crazy to me how that would be the reaction to even asking questions about it, when here's a government that's devoted the last 26 years to figuring out what's the best way to deliver it, and comes to a conclusion based on the statistical evidence that actually it's not good for the people. And so if the whole idea is we should do things that it's like, here's this person in distress, and what's the best way to serve that person, right? That's ultimately the question that should be being asked. But what's being asked instead is how can we use this group of people to win political points and you know what I mean, and shut people up that don't agree with their point of view. I don't understand that. I just don't.
Well, I think the reason. So I think the reason it seems kind of weird to you is because you're thinking of it as like a medical issue, and a medical issue seems like you should be able to look at different treatments and outcomes and look at some statistics and be guided.
I'm not even looking at it as a medical issue. I'm looking at just a human issue of what, if the question is that a problem? Okay. So you were born in the wrong body, ostensibly. I'll grant you that point. Is that a problem? Is it possible for you to embrace the body that you have? I embrace my skinny body. I embrace my fat body. I have no choice but to embrace whatever body I'm in. Right. And so is there a way for me to get right with the body that I'm in? And is that the first step towards mental health, is accepting the situation that you're in? Not to say that you don't want it to be different, but you have to start where you are. I wish it was different is not, that even Buddha says that. That's what brings all the suffering in your life, is your rejection of reality in favor of preferred fantasy. Right? Yeah. So, okay, that's Buddha. You say Buddha was a bigot or whatever, but that's Buddha saying. Okay, so it's like that's all where I'm coming from. It's like, okay, if the person is in distress and there's a way for them to alleviate that distress, there may be a preferred way, but there may be multiple different paths to alleviating the stress that you find yourself in. And I'm a fan of allowing you to pursue whatever those are. I don't think that's society's business. Where it becomes society's business is when you have a clash of rights, or a clash, especially rights, specifically, rights, not preferences. A clash of preferences is not a thing that we should legislate, but a clash of rights. Okay, you got some fundamental rights to this: safety, privacy, etc. We've already codified. We all agree on in every other context except this one. That doesn't make any sense, right? To me, that's that's where I come from on that issue. When the questions that I have about it, it's separate from all the efficacy that's addressed in this report. That's where I come from. It's okay, until you solve this problem. Now, I get that people exacerbate that conflict in order to score political points as well. I appreciate that, and that's shitty, but it is reality. I understand that, but it's also until you address that in an acceptable way, it's very difficult for me to hop on your side of the table and demand that we suspend these people's rights. That doesn't make any sense. So.
Well, yeah, you got to think about. Like I said, I think if you're looking at it through the lens of this is a medical issue or even a psychological issue, then I think the vitriol, the intensity seems to be really strange. Wow, it's one person that, if one person says I'm not really sure anxiety disorder is really a disease, and you'd be like, well, that's interesting. Here's some studies, whatever. We're not why are you genociding me? You just that's just not the response. So like, why is that? So I think there's a few reasons. So one is the um, being the way that the transgender movement is set up right now. It seems to foster really bad mental patterns. Um, so if like think about being passing right as someone, right? It's like, oh, am I passing, am I not passing, is someone clocking me as transgender, all sort of stuff. And then like the euphoria when you're gendered the way that you wish to be. It's like, oh wow, that is a lot of focus on other people
Well, also,
agreeing with you.
what's all the
Right.
obsession with being cisgender, or appearing cisgendered? Like, why
Yeah,
the obsession?
yeah, like, so it's like that by itself, it's like, well, I wish to appear to be, I wish everyone around me to tell me that I
Right,
appear as a
right,
cisgender person of the opposite sex,
right. What's
and that
I don't understand the objective. Yeah.
my happiness is based on them noticing this thing about me, and so I need to constantly, like, be making sure that it's happening or not happening. And if it does in an unexpected way, then now my day is better. But someone else called me sir on the phone, and now like my whole life is ruined. And it's like,
Well, actually,
wow,
though, that perspective, if you genuinely had that perspective, like, I feel for the suffering of that person, right?
oh yeah,
But
yeah,
where I draw the line is like, okay, well, now you're going to legislate that we all have to address you and deal with you this way. Like, that's that now it's crazy, you know?
right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like okay, if I was thinking to myself, you know what, I want to make sure someone feels a lot of I want to boost someone's OCD. Like if I really wanted to make them really really OCD, this is the kind of thing I would tell them. And I would tell them like your happiness is going to be based on other people noticing this about you or agreeing with you about this. And man, I'm going to really do a number on their psyche if I can get them to believe this. And then it's like it's not something like, well, I deal with this on my own at home kind of thing. It's like, no, 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 I'm dealing with this everywhere all the time, and it becomes the most important thing to me everywhere. um and I think that that's like you know it's one of those where, like, if you just think about it for a minute, there's no way that this is a route to mental health. It's not possible.
Well,
um
I don't know if you saw the comment
uh,
from Ravi here. He's like, this is 2% of the population. We should move past it, right? And I don't think he's directing it at us
no,
having this conversation, but
no,
but
no, no, no.
I sympathize with
But
him.
that's not true though.
I sympathize with him in the sense that, don't be facetious, man. I know where you're going. I know where you're going. I think it's like I agree that it is a small. Like, when people say that, my initial reaction is, yeah, you're right. This is just such a small percentage of the population. Why are we dealing with it? But what percentage of the political dialogue is it, right? So that's the real question. So, like, if it, not the real question in reality, but the real question politically, right? If you're in the political world and you're talking about political issues or current events, what we're trying to do here is like, okay, well, if there's a ton of energy and messaging and initiative going on from this community demanding whatever they're demanding, table trans, call it whatever you want. Here's a community that feels like, go back to the civil rights movement, right? It's like 13% of the population is I think black, or how you just said 13%. Okay, so this is a minority, right? So a minority of the population feels that they are being discriminated against, and we need to stand up for their rights. And then there's massive pushback because the establishment that exists doesn't want to give that, and so you have a conflict. Okay, and the conflict populates however it populates. Same thing with gay rights, right? Gay rights, like literally in the West Wing that I'm watching, right, referencing it, like they propose a Defense of Marriage Act, I guess, attached to this one episode. They have this. This is so quaint too. Like it was like, oh man, this show is really, really from back in the day, because they're going to budget meetings to pass this year's budget. And I'm like, man,
Right.
I don't remember the last year that we even passed. Actually, you should Google that. What's the last year the Congress
Yeah.
passed the budget? I'm pretty sure we're on 20 years of CRs at this point. I mean, certainly 10. But anyway,
Just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
they have not passed a budget forever. So, like, here's a show and written at the time when they were actually going to budget meetings and coming up with this year's budget, right? Because the budget's so important, they're saying, because this defines the priorities of this administration in the country. And this is what the people say is important. And it's like, yeah, we gave up on that a long time ago as I'm watching the show. But like, so one of the episodes is this Republican attaches this defensive marriage resolution. They literally call it defensive marriage, which I thought was kind of funny because it was a total call out to the Bush administration, I guess. But like, we're going to add this amendment in. And so the discussion is, should the president threaten a veto or not, right? Because they're like, well, dude, the Supreme Court's going to strike this down. This is an illegal amendment. Who cares, right? We care about the budget. We're not going to like jam up our budget because of this thing. And this is such a small percentage of the population. It doesn't really, like, let's just move on. It's not, it doesn't, they pass it, they get some talking points, but it's like, it's ethereal. It's not real because it's never going to be actually enforced by anybody. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the whole debate in the show. And it was just a really fun episode to watch if you go back and look at it. But it's like, but if the group that's like demanding it is like, right. It's like, yeah, exactly. Robbie's like, well, the Dems think it's more than 2%.
Well, so there's two senses in which it's more than 2%. So one is, if you think about what now I think it's looking pretty clearly like social contagion style. And
well, certainly instances where it's like, well, who's the actress from Sex and the City that gave the redhead? I can't remember her name. But she was making some speech. She's like, I can't remember if she was her own kid. She's like, I have both of my kids are transgender. All their kids are transgender. All their friends are transgender. It's like, well, dude, that's statistically impossible. Like that's
Well, so that's one of the issues, right? Is that like there are some high schools, some in LA, interestingly, that 35% of the students identify as something other than the
binary genders.
There was a
gender assigned at
birth. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we assigned it to you. We just kind of pulled the number. Like, I guess this one's you. There's your assignment.
Right. I don't know. What are we going to do with this one?
Let's assign it this. I saw one. There was one. This was like a couple of days ago where they were talking about how like it's oppressive to like be sort of doomed to fulfill what your genitals appeared to the doctor to be when you were born. And I was like, like that's what did it. That's why I grew a beard, is because of what my genitals appeared to be to the doctor when I was born. So he put this thing on my birth certificate, but it has nothing to do with me. Like that's
this doctor. Crazy. This doctor buddy of mine told me about another doctor that he knew, and he was like, this guy has a perfect track record with his patients of nailing the sex of the baby. Right.
How does he?
Yeah. He's like, he always knows. And it's like, how did he know that? Right. And it's like, whatever he tells them, he writes the opposite down in the logbook. And so when he tells them whatever the gender of the baby is, then when they go, oh my God, you said it was a boy and it's a boy. I knew it, But he's like, you said it was a boy and it's a girl. He's like, I never said that. I told you it was a girl. And they're in his notes on the day. It's his notes, right? So he can always prove like, oh, what are you talking
about? That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. The other way that it's above 2% is the effect, right? So it's one thing to say, hey, gay marriage, if you don't like gay marriage, don't have one, and it's like, right, cool. But it's nothing. It's very different if you say, well, hey, if you're not in favor of trans things, then just don't do it. It's like, well, no. The demand is that everyone play along, and so it's like, so it actually affects 100% of the people.
Interesting.
Not 2%.
Well, if the law gets implemented that way, it's
what's being asked for,
and that's what I think people push against. Well, I mean, some people push against it for religious reasons or whatever, but like the people that actually push against it that have nothing to do. But it's just like, dude, I'm not going into the freaking Twilight Zone here. Like, I'm not doing that,
No, I'm not saying it. The third way that it's more than 2% or the 2%.
Rob, so it's a psyop? Yes. I
pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. The other way in which it's more than 2%, and this is like, it might actually be 2% in this one, but it doesn't matter. You should resist it anyway. And that's the what I think this will be vindicated probably in the next 10 or 15 years.
Oh, he's getting bold. Getting bold.
I am.
Put it out
But
there.
I've said it before that the medical transgender surgeries and so on for children will be seen as child abuse in the future. In the same way that we see things like lobotomies that were done in the 50s. Like, well, he's very rowdy, and then we did the lobotomy, and he's now very well behaved. And you're like, it's medical treatment. You know,
Why is it that every time I hear the word lobotomized, I think of Total Recall? But back on Earth, you'll be lobotomized.
You'll be lobotomized. So I think that we're like, this is going to happen where it'll be like, well, hey, you know, what a consenting adult decides to do with their body is their business, but like, you know, we have to protect
You did this
children.
to kids. Yeah.
Right. And so I think the other way, in which, like, let's say it is 2%, but a big chunk of that 2% are children. Then it's like, well, we don't want our kids to be abused in this country. Like, I remember
What are you
back
putting
in
them in
the
the
day.
Wheaties, man? They're putting something in the Wheaties.
No, I remember back in the day. I'm kind of one of those old school liberals when it was like, you know, we all sort of marched against genital mutilation.
Oh, that's
For
old school. Yeah.
children. Yeah, now it's like, well, no, I mean, you know, you can't do it for religious reasons, but if you did it because they at one point claimed that they preferred to play with dolls or preferred to
Right.
play with trucks, then you should definitely do that for your kids.
Well, it's
But
like,
it's like,
yeah, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who's a little bit more MAGA, on the side, and he's like, da da da, and I'm like, I'm more of those old school conservatives that's kind of against terrorism and against like starting wars with other, like that's just kind of me. I know it's not,
yeah,
I conservative, like small government, like that kind of. I know it's passe now, but
yeah.
used to be a thing.
I used to do ballroom dancing. The Lindy Hop, I hear it's coming back.
The Lindy Hop. All right, brother, I got to run pick up the kids. It's great talking to you again. Thanks for you guys tuning in. Cheers.